Very good. Thank you, John.
Keep it pretty brief. John's going to speak after me, but welcome to the Mini Hartman Center. This is obviously an old school that was redeveloped into 64 units of affordable housing. It was actually pretty near and dear to my heart. My stepmom actually went to school here back in, I guess it was the 60s. And so very cool to see schools like this get redeveloped into affordable housing. They set up great just because of the classroom size. You get great amenity space like this for the community rooms really, and they do hold a big place in community's heart. And so it's great to see these schools redeveloped. Obviously, there was also a new construction piece to this project. And so between those two, I believe there's 44 units in this one, 20 in the new construction building. But the building was vacant for nearly 10 years, and so when you redevelop schools like this, it's great for the community because it goes from an eyesore, something that's run down that doesn't have a use, to something that's very active and really activates the neighborhood. So I'm glad to see it redeveloped. But TWG, we co-developed this with NEAR, who are also the general contractor and manager, and just happy to be part of projects like this, and I want to thank IHCDA for their support to allow projects like this to happen, because without the affordable housing tax credits, without IHCDA support, schools like this would probably still sit vacant. You don't see a lot of market-rate developers out there trying to redevelop properties like this, and so just glad the programs are in place, and again, I want to thank IHCDA.
Wonderful. And now John Franklin Hay, the executive director of New East Area Renewal. Welcome.
Thank you, and good morning. Welcome everyone to the Mini Hartman Center and to the Near East Side of Indianapolis. So I directed a little nonprofit, a community development corporation called Near East Area Renewal, or NEAR, and we do a wide range of community development activity. We've been working specifically on neighborhood renewal for St. Clair Place, which 10 years ago was about 45% vacant. And we've developed 122 houses there in the past 10 years, all affordable housing, scattered site. Also developed with IHCDA tax credits, St. Clair Place, St. Clair Senior Apartments at 10th and Keystone, and then most recently here, the Mini Hartman Center. And we are so pleased to be able to provide affordable housing for seniors in our community. In addition to the affordable housing that's part of this facility, we are in the process of developing a child care center on the east end of this building. Following the meeting, I'll be happy to walk anyone through the facility, the housing facility. Unfortunately, we're completely leased up. All 64 units are full. I can't show you an apartment, but we can show you the hallways and the community room and the wonderful work that TWG did to really make this place a great space in our community. This is the largest single investment in this area in generations, and it's the first. We are a block away from Sherman Park, and Sherman Park is the old site for RCA. RCA had its headquarters. At one point in time, there were over 8,000 jobs at the 50-acre site. It's now a brownfield and is being remediated. We worked with EPA last year to develop a reuse plan for Sherman Park. And the City of Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development has accepted that. Right now, the CMT Engineering and MKSK Landscape Architects are working on developing the infrastructure design plan for that, and so the infrastructure could begin as early as the middle of next year. And that would provide, again, a great space for industrial development, for commercial development, for housing development, and this is really the beginning of urbanization of this area. Again, I want to thank IHCDA for joining with us in TWG in a vision for beginning something wonderful and new here. So we begin construction next week. There are 8 classrooms that are undeveloped on the east end of the building. We begin construction for a child care facility. This will serve 120 children, infant to pre-K, in one of the most underserved areas of the city for child care. Shepherd Community Center, which is another local nonprofit, will operate the daycare. Our hope is to begin construction next week, to conclude it the 1st of July, with Shepherd Community Center beginning child care services here in the 1st of August. So we're really pumped about that. The unique thing about the Mini Hartman Center, which is named for a PTA volunteer, is that we developed the plan from the beginning to be a creative interaction between senior adults and preschool children. It's become a national model to enhance quality of life by providing opportunities and programming for seniors and children and preschool children to interact. And so this space that we are in, will become a space for limited activity, primarily around play and storytelling, all supervised, all with trained staff, for seniors to volunteer, to tell stories and play alongside children to enhance quality of life. It's the first in the state of Indiana, and we're really pumped about getting that going. So, again, this is a great community space, and you've been a part of making that possible, and we want to say thank you. After the meeting, we're happy to surround. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions of either John or John? Thank you.
Thank you.
Should point out, one of our staff people, Stephen is back here, went to school here. So,
Ah.
Stephen, thank you. And Sheena, you were on the stage, is that right? Yeah. She was on the drill team.
Brings back memories, huh? Wonderful. General Counsel, is there a quorum?
Madam Chair, you do have the quorum.
Thank you. I will call to order the February 27, 2020 Board of Directors, Indiana Housing Community Development Authority. And if we can start by introducing ourselves, going around the table so that those that are listening will know who is here. So Mark, I'll start with you.
Mark Pasquarello, the Director of Debt Management for the Indiana Finance Authority, and I'm the designee for the Public Finance Director at the NPD.
Kelly Mitchell, State Treasurer for Indiana.
Suzanne Crouch, Lieutenant Governor.
Jacob Syke, Executive Director.
Mike Schottmeyer, Evans ODA.
June Midkiff, member.
Sheena Robinson, paralegal, and board secretary.
Wonderful. Well, the first item of business is approval of the minutes from the January 23rd board meeting. And are there any corrections or additions? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The first item on the agenda is the, let's see here, Peter Nelson. We are welcoming Peter to present a recommendation regarding the bond volume 4% tax credits, Bloomington RAD 1.
Yes, good morning. Apologies for my voice. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, but I'll try not to cough my way through this. I am here this morning. I have two agenda items, but the first, as mentioned, is the recommendation for 4% credits and bond volume for Bloomington RAD 1. This project is the 11th application received during our 2019 bond round. It represents a total development cost of $17,768,544, requesting $11 million in bond volume and $574,439 in LIHTC to create rehab 116 units of affordable housing. So this is the RAD conversion rehabilitation of two public housing projects in Bloomington, the Reverend Butler project and the Walnut Woods. So they're combining them, doing a full RAD conversion. And if just a little reminder on RAD, we have done a few of these before, but it's a HUD program. It allows HUD-funded projects to come back and change their source of funding to project-based vouchers. So it works really well with the tax credit program to infuse new life into these projects, do the necessary rehab to keep these up, and preserve affordability for the long term. So for this project, Brinshore Development is partnering with the Bloomington Housing Authority to rehab these 116 units. The project contains 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units set aside for families. Work is a pretty substantial rehab, new roofs, HVAC systems, interior improvements such as new flooring, cabinets, and appliances, and increases to accessibility throughout the properties, exterior, interior, and both sites are near a lot of amenities, so they'll have access to things. One of the sites is actually right next door to a brand new Boys and Girls Club in Bloomington, and the team mentioned when they came in that residents to any other properties get a year-long membership to the Boys and Girls Club for just $5 annually. So during this round, the real estate department reviewed this application, made sure it met the criteria in our 2020-2021 qualified allocation plan, and we met with the development team on January 28th to present the final project to us. With that, IHCDA, the real estate team, is happy to recommend the full allocation of bond volume and tax credits for this project. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions between us? If you're ready for your resolution, please.
Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $11 million in bond volume and $574,439 in annual LIHTC to Bloomington Rad 1 LP for Bloomington Rad 1 according to the terms of the 2019 AB application round as recommended by staff.
We have a motion before us, or a resolution before us. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. And now you will present a recommendation regarding bond volume 4% tax credits for Jamestown Square.
Yes.
Thank you.
Jamestown Square was the 10th application we received and reviewed in the round. Represents a total development cost of $13,366,970, requesting $8,200,000 in bond volume and $386,540 in LIHTC to preserve 150 units of affordable housing. So this project is in Washington, Indiana. It is a rehab by the Gene B. Glick Company. We've approved a handful of their projects over the past couple of years. So this is another one in their portfolio that they're rehabbing to preserve. This project already contains project-based vouchers, so they want to make sure they get these funds to rehab the project and preserve long-term affordability. This project contains a mix of 1, 2, 3 bedroom units. There are 2 different building types in the project. There's, I believe, 2 larger apartment-style buildings with apartment-style units, and then a handful of buildings that have like townhouses that hold most of the 3 bedroom units. This scope of work is, again, a substantial rehab. New roofs, sliding doors, windows. Interior improvements include installing cabinets, countertops, appliances, fixtures, and the HVAC systems. And then, again, this project is close to nearby amenities, grocery store, pharmacy, banks, pretty much anything anybody would really want, they'd have quick access to. Reviewed this also under the 2020 and 2021 qualified allocation plan and met with the development team to present to our real estate and executive staff the project on January 31st of this year. And staff is recommending the full allocation of bond volume and tax credits for this project. Any questions?
Any questions? I think we're ready for your resolution.
Staff respectfully request the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the board approve awarding $8,200,000 in bond volume and $386,540 in annual LIHTC to Glick Jamestown Square, Washington, LP for Jamestown Square according to the terms of the 2019 AB application round as recommended by staff.
Board, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now please welcome Danny Miller to discuss the 2019 CDBG OOR award recommendations.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Danny Miller. I'm a real estate analyst for Northern Indiana. Today I'm pleased to recommend funding for our 2019 Community Development Block Grant Owner Occupied Rehabilitation Grant Round. Each year, IHCDA receives an allocation of CDBG funding from the Office of Community and Rural Affairs to make health and safety repairs for owner-occupied homes in non-entitlement areas of the state. For the 2019 CDBG program year, IHCDA has $2,564,428 available to cities, towns, and counties to develop and support OOR projects. We received 10 total applications for the 2019 round. Each application was scored by a reviewer based on criteria outlined in the 2019 CDBG OOR application policy. There was no minimum score this round, and one application was disqualified for failing to meet public hearing requirements. Today, our team is recommending 9 projects for CDBG funding, which will assist a projected total 114 households across the state. IHCDA will track the following key performance indicators in relation to this CDBG round. The total number of households assisted with CDBG funds. Like I mentioned, we're anticipating 114 households to be served through this grant round. Second, we'll be tracking the number of applicants that have not received an IHCDA CDBG award or have not received one within the past 5 years. 8 of the 10 applications we received this round are from applicants that have not received a CDBG award in the past 5 years. And then third, the total number of households served containing target populations, which include individuals with disabilities, families with children ages 6 and under, aging in place households, veterans, and single parent households. IHCDA anticipates that 103 of the 114 households served will be owned or have a household member that meets one of these target population definitions. You can find the list of the 9 award recommendations in your board packet, and at this time I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions for Danny? I think we're ready for your resolution.
Thank you. Staff recommends the allocation of $2,564,428 in fiscal year 2019 CDBG funds to the 9 applicants listed above. Staff respectfully requests the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that the board approve awarding CDBG grant funds for owner-occupied rehabilitation to the 9 applicants listed above in an amount not to exceed $2,564,428 as recommended by staff.
Well, we have a resolution before us. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
And we now have a report from our Executive Director, Jacob Sykes.
Good morning. I still want to thank John with TWG and NEAR for hosting us. Thank you very much. This is a wonderful property, and we're really proud to be part of being a small part of all of this. So thank you very much. So, I want to recognize Danny. Danny, she is leaving IHCDA. She's departing to continue her professional career in affordable housing in the private sector. So thank you, Danny, for everything that you have done. She mentioned one thing that I know she takes a lot of pride in, her outreach into our communities that have not accessed our resources in the past. And she mentioned how 8 of these communities that are receiving our owner-occupied rehab awards today are new and haven't received any funding in 5 years. So really proud that we're really targeting and doing that outreach to hit some of our underserved communities with our funding. So thank you, Danny, for everything you've done. So yes, she's been great. And she's also led on our Ramp Up program that we have as well. She's really taken a leadership role in that. So anyway, thanks. In front of you, we have the 2019 annual report. A couple things I'm really proud of and I just want to point out. It's February and we have the report out. In the past, we haven't been able to get that report out until later in the spring. Jeff Canoy this year, inside our office, he's not here today, but he really took a great leadership role in pulling all this together. One of the things that you'll immediately notice when you compare this to previous reports is the amount of data that we have put into the report. It really does strike with what we were trying to accomplish, which is to see the amount of investment, the number of programs that are administered by this agency, and the positive impact that it is having through a network of partnerships, both in the private sector and the public sector, on neighborhoods and also on residents and people's lives. So as you get into the report, you can really start to see some of these. And I'll just touch on a few things. The mission of IHCDA, we try to keep that very simple because it is very complex. It's promoting housing, strengthening communities, and then also promoting self-sufficiency. And within the report, we try to put those programs up under those three objectives within the mission of IHCDA. And so the other thing that we laid out is the governance of IHCDA in the very beginning here on page 5, in addition to our mission, our vision statements that we have. So we did include some new initiatives that we had embarked on in 2019. Our workforce housing initiative that we're working on modular housing demonstration projects in Marion, Indiana, and also in Elkhart. We also have our anchor employer program that continues to move forward, working with 4 anchor employers across our state. We just had a couple of meetings with them last week. And then also our West Calumet neighborhood workforce housing initiative to promote home ownership and single-family new construction in the West Calumet neighborhood. So in addition to that, we had our home innovation round for the first time, making significant investment using our home investment partnership funds with 3 not-for-profits that also will promote home ownership, along with taking on some community challenges with that. Honor Our Vets program is obviously continuing to move forward with that. And I say moving forward 2020, working with 2 not-for-profits to promote affordable housing for persons with intellectual disabilities that also looks at systems changes through transportation and smart home technology. So those are new initiatives that we had launched last year that we captured in here. And then you can start to see as you go through the report, the dollars and the impact that we're measuring on communities and on residents and individuals and households. So one of the other things that we did there's also 3 success stories that we shared within the report, so you can see firsthand what these programs are doing and the impact they're having on people's lives. So we have 3 really great stories there. And then the expenditure summary is on the very last. That really shed some light on the dollar amount that goes through this agency. And I don't know if people really realize the dollars that go through this agency and the fiscal responsibility that we have and the responsibility that we ensure with our audits. We haven't had any, in the past 3 years, we haven't had any material weaknesses identified by multiple different auditors for this agency. And we're talking about over $1 billion annually going through that flows through IHCDA, that flow into our communities. And obviously we do that as efficiently as possible so that as many of those dollars can go into communities as possible. So I think the report, it is different than we have in the past. This was our, with the amount of data, and obviously we're still working to get better at it, but I think we have a really good platform here that we can use for future annual reports as well. So, but if I have any questions or anything about the annual report, I'm happy to answer them for the board. Just really proud of the work that Jeff did, but also I know within IHCDA, all the teams that we had, because they all contributed in identifying the right data points and metrics that we wanted to use to report out to the public on this. So anyway, so that's our annual report. Really proud of that for the board, and I think each of you have a copy for yourself. So we have other copies available too if you would like to have one in your office, or you'd like to share it with other groups within your communities. We're happy to do that as well.
Hey, Jacob, in looking at the expenditure, I think I know the answer to this, but on the hardest hit fund, it has declined quite a bit.
Right.
But is there still a balance in that?
There is. There's this is the last year. The program, it sunsets on December 31st of this year. It was a lump sum award that was made to the state of Indiana to IHCDA to administer. So yes, those dollars are continuing to dwindle. The hardest hit funds provided dollars for foreclosure prevention in addition to blight elimination. And both of those programs are still active today. We're not on the blight elimination program. We're not taking any new applications or anything like that from any communities. We're working with those communities that have the program and that are working to demolish vacant and abandoned homes. But the program will be winding down this year. So you will, in the 2021 report, there won't be any dollars there. What you see here, this will be 2020 will be the last year for the hardest hit fire program, unless something were to happen at the national level. But right now, we're not aware of anything like that happening. So,
Thank you.
and we're on pace to actually expend, almost all of those dollars. I think there was, I'm was here to help me out, trying to think of the actual dollar amount. I think we're over $320 million that we had for hardest hit fund. I think we probably will be able to expend all of those dollars by the end of this year. At least that's our goal. And we're getting close to that right now.
And how many years has that been?
That came in 2012, I think, is when 2012, 2013 is when those dollars came. So.
Thank you.
The other document you have in front of you is the quarterly IHCDA magazine. Chris Kingsley here is on the cover from La Casa, which is in Goshen. And as I mentioned earlier, La Casa is one of our partners on the workforce housing initiative on using modular housing, using the blight elimination lots in Elkhart. And so that program, that initiative is really strong. They're ready to start installing the manufactured homes probably this summer, and they have their home buyers for the most part identified. So, and they're partnering with us on other initiatives too, permanent supportive housing, moving forward rural development. So they've got a lot of activity going on here. There's a lot of great stories in the work that you see IHCDA and the impact it has. I want to mention real quick, this magazine is done by IHCDA volunteers. Staff that work on this magazine, they volunteer to do it in addition to their daily jobs. I don't think any of us here are editors of any magazines, so this isn't our, we don't claim to be subject matter experts on writing magazines, but our team does a great job in taking time out of what they do every day to write a nice article on the impact that our programs are having across our state. So it really kind of humanizes the work that we do. So really proud of the team for the work that they on that in the magazine. So that's our winter issue. Right after the January board meeting, we had the opportunity to host a roundtable discussion for HUD at IHCDA. We hosted it, and HUD invited over 40 stakeholders from developers, home builders, creditors, real estate professionals, housing manufacturers, to solicit feedback on HUD programs. And Midwest Regional Director Joseph Galvin, and then the Indiana Director Kimberly Wise actually put the event on, and it really gave us an opportunity, the industry, to provide feedback on barriers to affordable housing production and preservation. And that opportunity was well received. I believe, as I talked to my other colleagues in other states, this was the first time that a state housing finance agency hosted an event like this to begin to solicit that type of feedback on what type of red tape is out there, what are these barriers that are preventing us from continuing to create affordable housing or preserve affordable housing. And so everybody had some good feedback, and I was really glad that we were able to create that type of environment and to host that event for the HUD region, Midwest region here in Indiana. So that was one of the little things that we did. It was just right after the board meeting in January. So last week I had the opportunity to attend the Prosperity Indiana Summit, and we partner with Prosperity Indiana to co-present the Michael Carroll Leadership Award. And last week with Prosperity Indiana, we were able to make that award to Bruce Baird, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Renew Indianapolis. So just really proud of that partnership that we have with Prosperity, and the Michael Carroll Leadership Award continues to provide that to leaders in our industry across our state. So
Could you explain again about Prosperity Indiana?
Sure. Prosperity Indiana is a membership organization made up of affordable housing and community development stakeholders. Primarily it's not-for-profit, but they also have associate members of financial institutions and developers and anyone else who's just interested in affordable housing and community development. They annually host a summit in Indianapolis to talk about challenges and share best practices when it comes to affordable housing and best practices or in community development. So this year's theme was primarily focused on the wealth gap and the inequality that many of our communities see and experience with the residents. And so there's a lot of conversation around that. And thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for speaking at that event during the luncheon. It was well received, and I'm glad that you were able to participate in that event as well. So we've had a long-standing partnership with Prosperity. They also provide technical assistance and training across the state to many not-for-profits as well.
So it's not just Indiana based?
No, it's in Indiana. Yeah. So, in December, we issued an RFP to do a housing study. We've been convening multiple different housing stakeholders for over the summer. We were doing it about every month, just to talk about some of the challenges of affordable housing. And again, kind of similar to what we did with HUD, which is talk about some of those barriers. One of the objectives that came out of that working group was, and it was very informal, there was nothing formal about it. IHCDA just helped facilitate and host those conversations. But they wanted to do some kind of market evaluation of housing across our state. So in December, we issued the RFP, and we received 7 proposals for that RFP to do a county-by-county evaluation analysis of housing demand, housing market. So tomorrow, those 7 proposals, those organizations that proposed to us, will be presenting their proposals to IHCDA and some of those stakeholders who have been engaged in this process. So, and then probably I would like to, next month in March, present to the board a proposal to enter into a contract with one of these vendors to conduct that study. So I'll know a little bit more in a couple more weeks as we get into this. Ideally, I'll be able to take this to the board next month, so as a recommendation. So.
What's the range on the proposals?
Well, it's actually a little bit more expensive than what we were thinking. You know, we're hopeful. As we get into this a little bit more, I think we can negotiate some of the pricing a little bit on some of these. But you know, for a study like this, it was easy $200,000 to get into to do this level of analysis. So, but we'll see where we end up in terms of pricing on this and what the end product would look like. And a lot of that is great that we have a lot of industry experts who can give us feedback on what would be valuable for them. We have the Indiana Apartment Association, we have the Indiana Builders, we have the Affordable Housing Council, we have Habitat for Humanity. So everybody's looking at it through a different lens, and I think that's really good. We also have AIM, Accelerate Indiana Municipalities, representing local units of government. So everybody has a different perspective, which is what we need, and we want to be able to add value to each of those organizations for the housing industry in general. So we'll see where we end up, and you know, if we're talking about that type of price tag, IHCDA will not have the resources available to do that. However, with these other stakeholders, we're looking to hopefully have them also identify ways that they can help carry or in kind to do that. So, yeah. The last thing here is I think we have in front of you the map. I'm really excited. You know, a few years ago, Lieutenant Governor, we started going on the road with our board meetings and being able to get to all the mini Hartmans across our state in the developments that we have for the board to get a chance to see and see the work that we're doing. We're very aggressive this year. We have 8 or 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 sites we're going to be visiting this year. The next month we'll be in Richmond at the Music City Place. This was another adaptive reuse right in the downtown of the city of Richmond. It was also part of their stellar planning process that they had developed as part of being designated a stellar community. So really excited to be at Music City Place next month on March 26th. So, but I wanted to give you the map and let you see exactly where we'll be all over the state. So with that, that's my update for this month.
Any questions, Ms. Maker? Is there any further business to come before? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We stand adjourned. Thank you, board.